Hello guys. In the last session, you have learned about AWS introduction where I explained about AWS ARN, AWS Availability Zone and AWS Region. This session, we will learn AWS IAM. So we'll talk about like what is the IAM and what exactly it does. Okay. So let me first tell you exactly the IAM and nothing but the identity management. Okay. Take example of that. Like someone is asking you, who are you? What access you want? Or maybe, can I get an access? Okay, these are the questions when you ask these are questions, right? Whatever the answer is all about the identity management. Like someone asks you, who are you? When you answer it, like, okay, myself, XYZ. And if I ask you also, you, okay, who are you? Then you also ask me that, okay, I am a ABC. Okay, similar way is like based on the identity proven, like you will give access to the particular house or office or your car, right? Exactly similar way, AWS IAM also work. Why AWS IAM is required? AWS IAM is required to access the AWS resources either through by AWS CLI, either through by the AWS SDK or AWS consoles also, where you can define the hierarchy role by using the AWS IAM user groups are there, user policy are there, and user roles are there. These are the terminology we will talk about and we'll learn about in this session. Okay, so let's see like what exactly all this about.
What is IAM? When you say I am, which you try to prove your identity of yourself. When you ask somebody who you are, it means you ask them to prove their identity and it is then given access to particular entities like in your house or office or car, etc. So it is like identity management where you tell someone about yourself and you ask someone about themselves. AWS IAM is almost the same. It is all about identity access and management service. It is like owner of an address which owns services and decides whom to give entry into the house or for how long, etc. What IAM provides. IAM services asked below questions exactly the same which shown pictures. Who are you? Define authenticated user which has access to AWS console and created under user management. What do you need? Asked for which service wish to access like S3, Route 53, ADS or EC2 etc. Can I get access? Will get limited access or full access? What are IAM feature? First, user groups. Second, user. Third, policy. Fourth, role. Let's learn about what is user groups. IAM User Groups is a service which enables grouping of users who can have dedicated or restricted access. Under the group can attach required policy. Example, if created group. For junior engineer only give read-only permission. For senior give write-only access to specific resource rest read access. For lead, to give full admin access etc. There are many use cases like this. Second is IAM User. User Management Console allows users to create a user where they can set password and create secret key and access key. We can create multiple users at time. Secret access key and access key ID play important roles here to access AWS resources without username password. Enables an access key ID and secret access key for the AWS API, CLI, SDK, and other development tools. Once you lost secret key and access key, can't recover same one. Need to regenerate again. I will cover how to use secret key and access key in another session along with AWS CLI. These are step 1 and 2 to create user. Steps 3, 4, 5 is for setting tags and reviews which are required to identify the right meta information. Third is IAM policy. The IAM policy is nothing but similar like the security guard of an apartment who decides whom to give permission based on rules he or she has. This belongs to access related issues like which resources can have write access or read access. Standard format of policy is as shown on right hand side picture. Versions value are always standard numbers. The 17th of October 2012 and SID can be customized to identify as a naming convention. It can be sample 1 or example statement. There are 6 types of policy come under IAM. First, identity-based policies. Second, resource-based policies. Third, permission boundaries. Fourth, organizations SCPs. Fifth, access control lists, ACLs. Sixth, session policies. Identity-based policies. It belongs to users and user groups. This gives permission to a particular identity. This will be available under IAM User Policy section to enable required access. Second is resource-based policies. This policy will attached as inline to resources like S3 bucket has its own policy configuration. Resources policy allows principal mentioned in policy show in picture. Principals can be the same as resources or other accounts. Principal is user, account or entity to get access permission listed under action block. Example under principal value you can use AWS account ID or IAM user ID to specify. For example, let's assume that user named sample user should be allowed to manage only Amazon S3, Amazon EC2, and SNS. To enforce this rule, you can use left-hand side policy to set the permissions boundary for the sample user. Consider if you add another policy to create IAM user, then it will not allow IAM user creation operation even if has policy to do it. Because user can never perform operations in any other services. This is called as permission boundary. ACL is another resource-based policy and it doesn't use JSON structure type. ACL are cross-account, 2 different AWS accounts which might belong to same company or different company. Policy that grant permission to specific principal. Example, there are 2 companies doing business together as integration, then one company want to upload file to another company account, then ACL comes in picture to enable that access. Next is session policy. Session policy is getting used when AWS CLI or AWS API used for particular sessions. Session policy limits permission to create sessions but not grant permission. This will managed by expire time to make. This is exactly similar like our classroom session which schedule for limited time and once time over teacher will stop delivering session. I have not covered the last policy type is organization SCP. Not having experience in practical usage, let's learn about IAM policy structure. Policy consists of statement block. One policy will include multiple statement blocks. One statement consists of SID, can be customized name format like example, statement. Effect can be either allow or deny. Principal it required in only some circumstances. If you create resource-based policy then only it required to mention, else can ignore this attribute. Action include list of actions that the policy allow or disallow like create, update, delete, list etc. Resource required only in case of IAM permission-based policy. Condition blocks specify the circumstances under which the policy grants permission.
Last topic of this session is about IAM role. An IAM role is similar to an IAM user. Users cannot assign to particular services like EC2 or Lambda. Here IAM role comes into picture. We can say the IAM role is the executor role. If a person wants to act on some reaction, then the person should have access to that resource or incidents. Similarly, if Lambda wants to dump an execution log into CloudWatch, then Lambda execution role should have access to CloudWatch write permission. Role creation common use cases are AWS EC2 and Lambda. IAM provide following benefits while using. Enable application to access AWS resources and services securely. Don't have to share long-term credentials or define permissions for each entity that requires access to a resource. Created and managed by AWS. Rotated multiple times per day. IAM role creation support multiple types of execution like AWS service execution, AWS account, web identity, single federation. This session we have covered IAM users, user groups, policy and role. Important things to remember. Here is no charge for IAM service and does not come under any region or availability zones. Sign in as the root user, or contact your administrator, and register a multi-factor authentication (MFA) device for the root user to improve security for this account. You cannot attach identity-based policies to the root user, and you cannot set the permissions boundary for the root user. Thank you for watching video on channel Learning with Boy 2006. If you like video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.